All right, folks, it's time for the HOPPy info session. I see a bunch of people here already. Fantastic. Wow, you are early, but that is not necessarily a bad thing. So we'll give everyone another 2-3 minutes to show up, and then we will start off. I'm just going to close my office door. Let me set it up. I did this as a webinar because I'm never sure if people really want to see each other on such an informational sort of thing. I'm going to set up in the chat here, make it so that people can chat with everyone. I'm going to turn off the Q&A. Can I do that? Yeah, I'm going to turn off Q&A. Kaplunk. Because I don't want to answer any questions. No, actually, I just want, it's easier for me if we put it in the chat. So hopefully now you folks can write in the chat. You can ask questions of me as things go along. You can, say where you're from if you want. It's always like a nice standard webinar-y thing to do. And we will take it from there. Yeah, we have another 2 minutes or so, and then jump right into stuff. And I'm very excited, certainly. So yeah, for those of you who have not been following my exciting travels over the last few weeks, I'm finally starting to feel like I'm back at home in a normal sort of way. Oh, I guess I'm even wearing my PyCon Taiwan t-shirt. So I was in Taiwan. I can't believe like 2 weeks ago I was in Taiwan, and 1 week ago I was in Bangalore. And oh my God. But it's good. It's good. And I had a lot of fun, and I met a lot of really cool people, and I learned a lot, and ate a lot of good food. That's for sure. So, but now it's time for a little more stability in my life. All right. Give it 1 more minute, and then we'll start things up as people are coming in on time. And for those of you who have been to these presentations before about HOPPy, I apologize in advance, but there is going to be I would say 60% overlap because I don't have that many new things to say. But hopefully you'll have lots of good questions and ask me about it, and we'll take it from there. All right, so let me figure out how I always have to double check this. We will do that, and we will do this. And I think if I first share my screen, and then I play the slides, then I see everything. We have to, oops. Yeah, there we go. Ha! I think it's actually working the right way now. All right, we'll find out in a little bit. I'm going to get the chat here. So if people are, oh, that was the chat. And the participants, and there we go. Okay. So folks, we're going to start. And really, any questions you have at any point along the way, feel free to pop them in the chat. And I want this to be sort of as interactive as possible, as you can do with this sort of format. And I'll probably talk for about 15, 20 minutes or something. And then we'll get to any of your questions, and we'll go on from there. So in order to explain to you what HOPPy is, I want to give you a sense of sort of my evolution in thinking about learning, about education, and about how I want to structure courses. And so the first question to ask is well, how do we learn, right? How do people learn? And if we talk about it with most people, if we think about it in general, then most people are going to say, well, you learn from your parents, you learn from your teachers, you learn from your peers. And all of that is true, right? We learn from all sorts of different technologies. We learn from all sorts of different people, also different sort of systems that are around us. But what does it really mean for us to learn? Because it's not always super obvious. And the way that we usually think about it, the common model for thinking about learning is this, that one person knows something, that person tells another person that thing, and ta-da, now the second person knows it too. And so you think of this, if we think of learning in this sense, then it's well, I say something, I have information, it gets to you, now you have the information. You can almost think of it as a copy and paste, but the mechanism for doing that is words, and words, whether they're spoken or whether they're written, but we're getting the information from one person to another. And the thing is, people thought that learning worked this way for a long, long time. And then along came Jean Piaget, and he was this very, very famous Swiss psychologist. And he said, actually, folks, this is nonsense. This is not how we learn at all. What we learn is we create our own knowledge. So if I learn something, it's not that, oh, I heard it from someone else and we copy pasted into my mind. Rather, it's that I had to create that knowledge myself, but maybe that other person encouraged me to create it. Maybe that person like gave me the basics that I needed in order to actually learn that thing. And so a teacher's role, a parent's role, a peer's role in helping you to learn is basically to facilitate you creating your own information. And so Piaget was famous for talking about children as little scientists, that they're always doing experiments, trying to figure out how the world works. And there's this fantastic book by Alison Gopnik called The Scientist in the Crib, which is all about how children, when they're little, we think that they're just being messy or annoying or like, but they're exploring, they're conducting experiments, and they're trying to figure out how the world works. And they're trying to like sort of say, oh, I'm making sense out of it. And Piaget, it's hard to exaggerate how influential he was in the world of education research. Really, like Piaget was like the big guy, and he was very famous for doing these sorts of experiments also on children, especially on his own children, to figure out sort of what did they get at different ages and to understand that there were stages in which they just sort of could not understand certain things. There's a particularly famous sort of experiment he would do where if you would take a long, tall glass of water and a short, fat glass of water, and you would pour, let's say that there was water in the short, fat glass, you or I guess in the tall one, you pour it into the short one. Basically, you would think at a very young age that if it's taller, there's more, even though it was clearly conservation of matter there. And like at a certain age, he showed that kids sort of get it, that they get the understanding of conservation of matter, but not right away. So Piaget was influential, and he then went on to influence someone named Seymour Papert. And you might be familiar with Papert. He was very famous for creating the for creating the Logo programming language. He was famous for then doing the combination of Lego and Logo together. He wrote a fantastic book called Mindstorms, which gave the name to the Lego robotics systems called Mindstorms. And Papert studied with Piaget. And so Piaget once again said the best way to learn, or you learn through creating, you create your own knowledge. Papert said, well, what is the best way to create your own knowledge? It's when you're creating something that is meaningful. You're creating something that's meaningful to you. It's a project. You care about it. And so you're going to spend time on it, you're going to pay attention, and you're going to learn a lot that way. And so Logo, while people remember the turtle and drawing on the screen and everything, really the idea behind Logo was let's give kids this environment in which they can experiment and play and learn, make mistakes, learn to debug. That was a very important concept for him. And then over time, they will learn how to work. His big thing was mathematics. They will understand they'll be in this math world. He sort of said, if you want to speak French, you go to France, then you're immersed in this French speaking ecosystem. So he said, if you want to learn math, you should be in a math ecosystem. And that's what Logo was supposed to do. Logo success is debatable in many different ways. I will add that my PhD advisor's advisor was Papert. So I have a lot of affinity for Papert and his theories, even if I think that there were some flaws and so forth. And so open source is very constructionist, right? So how can I improve my Python? People ask me this all the time, and my answer is like join an open source project. And then I tell them join an open source project where the people who are running it are not jerks, because like there are plenty of jerks around. And like, but the idea is you're going to learn by doing. You're going to learn because you're going to work on something that's interesting to you, and you are going to be learning from other people who are demonstrating and guiding you in the right kind of practice. And so, really, if you join one of these projects, you're going to be learning from the best, and you're going to be learning best practices, and you're going to be contributing something that you care about, so you're going to want to work on it more. But there are a lot of things you need to know beyond Python. You need to know about getting GitHub, working on a project, modern tools and packages and UV and all that other stuff, right? And so there's just a lot around it to get these things done. And so I'm definitely a constructionist. Like, I mean, I think it's safe to say I probably should have emphasized this more in my essay for graduate school, but I got in. So, hey, I guess that's good. But I definitely believe in learning through doing. I'm constantly, personally trying new things. I'm trying to, like, I'll try something new. I will make mistakes. I'll learn from them. And I'll make, as Esther Dyson, a publisher of an early technology newsletter, used to say, always make new mistakes. Always sort of make learn bigger and bigger things and make bigger and bigger things and try newer things. And so like that's why I have weekly Python exercise and Bamboo Weekly and Python workout and Pandas workout. The whole idea of these books and of these courses and of these systems is learn through doing, learn through projects. But and I know this, these exercises are tiny. They are not enough. They're small, they're self-contained. Like as we like to say in the math world, right? They're necessary but not sufficient. So you will learn to solve certain problems better. But you want sort of a more holistic, larger thing that's closer to the real world. And because software engineers do lots of things other than just solve particular software problems. And so, yeah, you need to know data structures, you need to know functions, you need to know objects, you need to know all these different things, but you need to know also sort of how to take a project from zero to something. And that is, I think, in many ways, why people are really frustrated when they learn programming. So you've finished a course, and now you have to actually solve a real problem. Because it's not similar to anything you've done before. It's not like the textbook cases you've done. It's not even like the exercises you've gotten. Maybe I'd like to hope that something like Bamboo Weekly, like with Panda stuff, is like closer to what people do in the real world. But still, like, where do I even start? How do I deal with files, right? How do I use latest tools? All these things can really sort of frustrate you. So, as some of you know, I have 3 kids. My eldest is studying architecture right now. Well, not right now. She has a semester break, thankfully, but she's studying architecture, finished her 3rd year out of 6. Yes, 6 years. People kept saying to her, if it's taking you that long, you should be a doctor. She's like, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be an architect. And she's amazing. She's really, really amazing. And so each semester she has a course called Studio. And in Studio, basically, they come to class twice a week. And each time the professor goes through each person's work and says, this is good, this is bad. Actually, it's a lie. They just say this is bad. Maybe they'll say it's good here and there, but for the most part, they just say this is bad, and this is what you have to do. And they're given at the beginning of the semester a sort of general outline of what they should be doing. You're going to work on a dormitory. You are going to work on a sports center. You're going to work on taking an existing building and rejiggering it for some new use. So these very general sort of outlines, and then it is up to them to come up with a project and each week come in, or twice a week come in and sort of move in a direction of a finished project that their professor will feel good about. And they are constantly presenting to their peers. They're constantly getting feedback from their peers as well as from the professor. And so I was talking to my daughter about this. And first of all, it's like a ton of work, a ton of work. They ignore all their other classes in favor of Studio. But she said to me, like at some point about a year and a half ago, this is the best way to learn. It's the best way to learn because I'm working on something I care about. I'm working on something that's real or realistic. I'm getting feedback on it, and it's open-ended. I was like, welcome to Constructionism. No pun intended with architecture. And then we were sort of talking about, well, why can't I do this with Python courses? Why not make a bigger open-ended project-based course, which would both, I think, be good for people who want to learn, and for me, like I would feel better that people were learning it in a way that's sort of truer to my philosophy of education. And I've got the whole internet. I've got lots of sort of raw materials I can use to do this. Why not? And so that was the big question. Why not have a constructionist Python course? And what if it looked like an architecture student studio course? And that is where HOPPy comes in, right? So I had to come up with a cute name for it. Hands-on projects in Python. And here's even the little logo that I got AI to do, which I adore, but that's because I'm a sucker for silly, cute things. And the general idea is that I run between like 3 and 5 HOPPy cohorts every year. This is going to be the 3rd cohort. So I've done this twice before, each time trying to improve it a little bit. I still only advertise it to my mailing list, people on the Better Developers list, and people who are in my other courses, because I want to improve it. I want to sort of really get it a little smoother before I start opening it to the entire world and tell the entire world about it. Although whoever wants to join, I will let them. One big change between last 2 times and this time is it's going to be 8 weeks long, not 6 weeks long. And that was just because some of the feedback I got, and I felt it myself, we need more time to work on the project, more time to iterate, more time for me to also give some input, both on the code and just sort of generally how we're going to do it. And so the idea is each week we meet for 2 hours. Sometimes it can be less if we have a very small group. But the idea is each meeting, I try to introduce some ideas. I answer people's questions. People present what they're working on, and they get sort of responses back from others. If we have a big enough group, then we'll break up into breakout rooms, and people will work with like different groups with peer review. There'll always be peer review, and I'll give some as well. And the idea is constant review, constant feedback, constantly then iterating and improving. And the idea is that by the end of the HOPPy course, you will A, have a project under your belt that you can say, yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of this. I can show this to people. B, just as importantly, maybe even more importantly, you will have learned from it, right? And so you will have learned how to put things together. And C, I will have given you some input both on your code in general and how to like actually write it. And so the topic, as I said, like each studio that my daughter does, they have like general outlines. So this one is going to be about FastAPI. And I'm doing this for a number of reasons. Number one of which is like so many people are using FastAPI. I thought it would be good to sort of help facilitate people's fluency with FastAPI and help them out with it. B, for years I've wanted to do web courses, and I just felt like, oh, I don't have it, like I don't have the time for it. But this is a good way to do sort of combine the project stuff and the web stuff. Like I started off as a web developer back in '93, and then basically none of my corporate clients wanted web development stuff. Now they're starting to want it, so I'm sort of getting back into that. And the idea is, again, you're going to come up with an idea for a FastAPI application. What will that application do beyond being in FastAPI? That in many ways is up to you. The idea is it should use FastAPI, but do you want to make it for data? Do you want to make it for retrieving information? Do you want to make it for supplying an API for some information on your computer? I have a whole bunch of ideas. I hope that you will come with your ideas, but if you don't have one, that is fine. I will help to supply it. Oh, I see a question here. For FastAPI, are we building something that will act as a source and we're making whatever it is available for clients to consume? Oh, I see. Okay. Actually, I had no preference on who receives messages. I say, but fine, whatever. So the idea is, so look, FastAPI in theory can be used for creating any kind of website. In reality, as the name implies, FastAPI is basically used for providing a server that supplies API stuff. So you have to learn a little bit about client stuff as well, not that much. But the idea is basically you will create an API server that provides data of some sort. Now, is it based on a data set that you have? Is it based on, again, information on your computer? Is it gathering information from other places on the internet and then funneling it together? Is it caching things? That is in many ways up to you. And that first session we're going to have a week from today is going to be all about what do you want your project to be, right? And so you're going to learn FastAPI or learn more about FastAPI, but you're going to learn it while you're creating a project, you're getting feedback, and you're going to create something hopefully that you care about, that's interesting to you. And so the schedule is, as I said, 8 weeks long. I still haven't completely finalized the different topics I'm going to do on each week, but there's going to be stuff about type checking. There's going to be stuff about testing. There's going to be stuff about documentation. There's going to be stuff about just sort of publishing it and making it available. There are all these little things and big things that have to do with web applications that people aren't always familiar with. FastAPI uses a lot of type hints, so you're going to have to know something about that. FastAPI uses async, so you have to know something about that as well. And my hope is that people will come in with questions and challenges and things they don't understand. And as I always say, someone told me many years ago, I love this quote, that a good question is one that the student does not know the answer, and an excellent question is one where the instructor does not know the answer. And I love getting excellent questions. I love being pushed, love being forced to learn new stuff. And I promise you it will happen in this course. And I want that to happen. So this is a basic idea. And I would say maybe three most important dates are the ones that I list here are the intro, where you're going to choose a project. Very important to choose a project that is not too big. It's very easy to be like, oh, I have all the time and all the interest. I'm going to no. Better take something on that's small and do it really well and be really proud of it and then expand it. You can always expand things, but it's very hard to sort of bite off more than you can chew and then be like, oh, now what do I do? And then on the 19th, the fourth week, we are going to have halfway through presentations. And that's for everyone to show off where they are. I promise you right now, everyone's presentations will be embarrassing. You'll be like, oh, I can't believe I only did this and I didn't expect it and I'm having these problems. That is good. That presentation day, that halfway presentation day is a forcing function. It's forced you to do something, even if it's bad, because it will be bad because that's the way software works. That's the way these projects work. And you'll get feedback from everyone. And then the final day, the finale and demo day is everyone will go around and show what they've done. Some people will do a ton. Some people will do very little. It is okay. The point is, have you learned more over the course of the class? Have you improved? Do you have a better understanding? Do you have a better understanding of what's involved in doing these projects and where the pitfalls can be? That is the most important thing to me. Now, how much are you expected to do outside of class? Because in a class, it's basically just touching base with one another and getting feedback. Let's see, how about people with no prior knowledge with API, with FastAPI? Any way to get a head start? Excellent question. The answer is yes. Yes. So I did a lecture on FastAPI, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago. And one of the reasons why you have to be subscribed to my subscription service is so I can then point you to previous lessons that I have. And then I don't have to worry about do you have access to it or not. And so basically the idea is I'll be able to point you to that FastAPI lecture. I'm 100% sure that I'll have to fill in other things, and that is okay. Right? Everyone's going to come with a different background. That's the nature of the beast. That is okay. And so beyond the 2 hours a week we spend together, then I'm expecting people to have to spend between, and I know this is a super wide range, 5 and 20 hours a week. It depends on what you want to do. Most people, I'm guessing, are going to be in the 5 to 10 hour range. That is my guess. If you really want to like get something done that you can show off to other people. You want to do something small? That's okay. You want to go totally wild and like spend a ton of time on it? Also okay. My goal is to see you improve, to see you learn, that every week when we meet, you'll have sort of new challenges, new ideas, new things you want to throw at me. And of course, we will have our own private Discord session where you can ask me questions, share with other people, and so forth. I hope you also share with others on GitHub. So, participation and cost. This is where things get a little complicated, but hopefully not too complicated. They're basically two things. So participation, as I said, you can only participate if you're already a member of Learner Python in some way, shape, or form, as I said, so I can point you to resources. It allows me to keep the price a bit lower. I mean, I've got enough stuff going on. Now, it costs $1,500 for the 8-week class, and that's if you are already a member of Learner Python. If you are, however, a member of my bootcamp of Python Dab, then it's no extra cost. And the reason for this is that I see HOPPy as like the graduate school of my Learner Python program, meaning you go through of the bootcamp. Meaning you go through the bootcamp, you get like an intense introduction to Python and pandas and all this other stuff, but I still want people to be able to do more. And so I want them to like really be able to benefit from doing these sorts of projects. And so if you're in the bootcamp, you can think of it as the price includes the bootcamp and HOPPy like for that year. And I'm hoping that people will stay on for additional years and then like do a bunch of HOPPys of different sorts. If, however, you want to do it sort of a la carte, that is totally fine. Then it's the $1,500 plus the annual cost for things. And if you're worried / thinking about whether you'll get certificate letter, yes, absolutely. I think it comes automatically from the system. And regardless, I'm always happy to like provide a letter of recommendation for people who have participated. And as I mentioned, project ideas, keep it small and doable, right? Come with ideas, but don't try to say, oh, I've always wanted to do X. I bet I can do X in FastAPI. Maybe that'll work great, but try to find something that sort of dovetails well with FastAPI and how it does things. I'm not going to veto projects. Like if you insist on doing something, I will gently nudge you in certain directions, but I'm not going to like say you must do X, you must do Y. And I have a bunch of ideas as well. I'm going to continue to work on them for next week so that at the first meeting a week from today, we'll all be able to sort of share ideas, and different people have different ideas of what they want to do and how they want to do it. So let me look here. Oh, I have another question here. Better understanding of having requirements, not specification. If anyone has general understanding of basic document appropriate for a level of expertise, it should be helpful. And I found the internet very helpful. I'm not quite sure what your question is. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to do an API, right? So what is an API? Right? You can imagine the whole internet, I mean, the web at least, is we've got clients, which we generally call browsers, but not always. And then we've got servers. And the browser makes a request to the server and says, I want XYZ. And the server returns, at least the most primitive model, returns a document. When it comes to an API, and many web servers and web applications in general, the server is basically lying. The server is saying, here is a document. But it's not really a document. It's really the output from a function that was created, and that output was created on the fly. So FastAPI is basically saying most things on the internet are going to be dynamic, and most of the requests nowadays are not coming from people at browsers looking for documents. Rather, they're coming from computers looking to request API information. So we're going to use JSON for that communication, right? So the client is going to say, give me information on such and such. The server will return information on such and such. Both of those communications will be done using JSON. And then what do you wrap up in JSON? Anything and everything, right? Gmail, Google Maps, right? Like you name it nowadays, and just about everything is done with an API. And FastAPI tries to make it both fast for you to get up and running and fast for like the server to actually work on it. By the way, like I mean, I just saw Sebastian, who created FastAPI in Taiwan. The guy is amazing. The guy is like, not only is he brilliant, not only has he produced this a system that, believe it or not, has 40 million downloads a month. I know 40 million downloads a month, but he's now started to shore into a company, and I think he'll be one of the small number of open source people who figure out how to monetize his project and keep it going. Would bully for him. But a lot of this is going to be sort of, as I said, iteration and playing and thinking and how you want to do it. So I'm really excited about this. I think FastAPI is a fascinating project. I know it's in use by a lot of people, as I said. I think it's a great way to sort of get into web development with what is definitely the most popular web framework nowadays. It gives you a lot of modern Python tools and understanding as well, whether it's typing, whether it's async. We'll be using UV. We'll be using like as many modern tools as we can to get things going and to work. Any ideas about FastAPI Cloud? Would it be available during the cohort time? That is a great question. So, right, so that is what Sebastian has set up, his company called FastAPI Cloud. I can email them and see if I can get like availability for that. I'm not at all sure, but I'm very happy to check with them and say, hey, I'm going to be using this in class. Do you think you can provide something? They may even have a free tier. I have not even had a chance to check into that. That is a great question. If they do, or if they're willing to do it, if they will help me with that, I'm totally in favor of that. I'm always happy to sort of try to get whatever I can for my students. Like people in the boot camp know that I've managed to get PyCharm professional licenses for everyone for 6 months as a nice gift. Yeah, I'd be curious to try too. Let me see, like fast. I'm just going to check the pricing right now to see deploy FastAPI because it's now integrated into FastAPI. You do like FastAPI space deploy and boom. You can use any cloud provider. How do we do this? Some cloud provider. Okay, I don't know here. Fine. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to check into it. Oh, I see. Oh, this is like in general. Fine. I'll have to look into how they do it, but that's the sort of thing that I'm very happy to look into next week. I mean, it'll take us a little while to do it anyway. Other questions that people have? Oh, I see I have another question here. No. Questions, comments, thoughts about this. I will tell you that sadly, the URL for actually enrolling is not quite ready. It should be ready tomorrow. I'm really sorry about that. But I'm very excited about this cohort. Generally speaking, the HOPPy cohorts are pretty small. I think the biggest one we had was like 7 people, 8 people. And so I think it's fun to chat with people, for everyone to interact. It's definitely better I don't want to say the more the better, but if we can have between 5 and 10 people, that would be fantastic from my perspective, because then like everyone will get to know each other and we'll be able to interact, and it won't feel overwhelming, but it also won't feel bad when like people don't show up. Field trips are useful, but like they're not a good educational pedagogical policy. Other questions that people might have? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, so I'm going to send you email as soon as all of you are participating and other people signed up for this session. I'm going to put this session up on, I guess on YouTube. We'll see exactly where I put it. But basically, I will make it available because I want the recording to be available to people who had originally signed up. I will make the URL available as soon as it's available, hopefully tomorrow. Worst case on Thursday, or like I guess it would be Wednesday evening, like after Rosh Hashanah is over here, Jewish New Year. But Sunday, a week from today, is when we're kicking things off. And I really hope that you will join me. Any questions whatsoever that any of you have, please do let me know. You could always email me, or since you're a member of my community, hopefully, then you can reach out to me on Discord, and we will take it from there. All right, last chance for questions before we finish up. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Be in touch. Let me know, and I'll be in touch with you in the next day or so. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks again.